The film begins with Bol, Rial, and their daughter Niagak fleeing the horrors of war in South Sudan. Their escape takes them aboard a crowded, unstable boat bound for the UK. Tragedy strikes when the boat capsizes, and everyone aboard is thrown into the sea. The story then fast-forwards to Bol and Rial, now alone and living in a detention center. They are soon informed by government officials that they've been fortunate. A full 2-story row house has been allocated to them, which they won't have to share with other refugees. However, as their citizenship status is still under review, they are instructed not to seek employment and must remain in the assigned housing. If they adapt to British society and follow the rules they are told, their chances of approval will increase. The couple is escorted to their new home by a social worker named Mark. Though the house is in poor condition, Mark assures them it's a generous offer, larger than his own residence. He encourages them to integrate and behave in a way that shows they are among the good ones. Bol expresses hope and excitement for a fresh start, while Rial remains cautious and emotionally distant. She crafts a necklace from the beads of Niagak's doll, clinging to the memory of her daughter. That night, strange occurrences begin. Bol hears whispers and banging inside the walls. Investigating a damaged section, he believes he sees a ghost, only to have a bird suddenly fly out. He dismisses the incident, attributing the noises to the bird. The following morning, Bol and Rial take a walk through their rundown neighborhood. During this outing, a neighbor gives Bol a hostile stare as he disposes of their trash. Later, Bol goes into town to get a haircut. It's revealed that he's unsure of their exact location within the UK. On his way home, a group of locals invites him to join them at a church to watch a football match. There, Bol enthusiastically learns and chants along with the British fans. When he returns home, however, Rial is unimpressed by his efforts to assimilate. That night, unsettling sounds once again disturb Bol. As he investigates downstairs, a section of wallpaper peels away to reveal a large hole in the wall. When he peers inside, he finds seaweed. As he pulls on it, a ghostly figure creeps up behind him. At the end of the seaweed rope is Nyagak's doll. Suddenly, a corpse lunges from the wall to grab it. Bol shuts his eyes, and when he opens them again, everything appears normal. Determined to uncover the truth, he spends the rest of the night tearing the wallpaper off the walls. The next morning, Rial wakes to find Bol missing and the house littered with torn wallpaper. As she begins to clean, she experiences a vivid vision of their escape from South Sudan. Later, she ventures out to visit a nearby clinic, but finds herself trapped in a maze-like neighborhood as the streets seem to change around her. Distressed by unfriendly neighbors, she becomes increasingly disoriented. Eventually, she approaches a group of black teenagers for help. Although they assist her, they mock her accent and tell her to return to Africa. At the clinic, Rial is told she is physically fine. She explains to the nurse that the tribal markings on her and Bol's bodies represent affiliations to opposing tribes. To survive the conflict, she had marks from both, but this ultimately left her feeling like she belonged nowhere. When asked about Nagak, Rial simply replies that they lost her during their journey to the UK. Rial returns home after buying groceries and hears a mysterious voice whisper, "Come," from within the walls. She watches in shock as a peach slowly rolls across the floor and disappears into a hole, seemingly obeying the voice. Soon, multiple ghostly voices begin speaking to her. When Bol arrives home, he apologizes for being away and finds that Rial has prepared a traditional meal laid out on a rug as they once did in Africa. However, Bol insists they abandon these customs, demanding they eat with utensils at the dining table to better assimilate. He also insists they speak only in English. In response, Rial shares a folktale about a man who was so desperate to own a house that he stole from others to get it. Only to be cursed, his house ultimately destroyed. She tells Bol that their home is haunted, but he refuses to acknowledge it. Rial accuses him of lying and insists that the only way to lift the curse is to repay their spiritual debt. That night, Bol once again hears voices and begins tearing into the walls of the house. As he digs deeper, he hears traditional African music and voices echoing around him. ghostly apparitions appear throughout the house. Suddenly, he is attacked by a masked figure resembling Nyagak. Terrified, he flees. When Bol returns, he becomes convinced that the curse is linked to possessions from their homeland. In desperation, he gathers all of their belongings from Africa and sets them ablaze. He even rips the necklace Rial made from Nyagak's beads off her neck, ignoring her pleas not to destroy it, and throws it into the fire. Determined to erase their past, Bol goes to a shopping center, closely monitored by security guards, and purchases modern British clothing. At home, he obsessively begins repairing the house, injuring himself while rewiring the electrical system. The walls are now riddled with holes from his earlier rampage. When he's done, he finds Rial speaking to an unseen entity, calmly discussing a return to South Sudan. Angered, Bol sets the table and urges her to fully embrace their new life. Rial, however, reveals that the spirits have offered to reunite her with Nyagak if she fulfills their request, and warns that she should fear Bol. Bol begins eating dinner angrily, using silverware as a forced gesture of assimilation, when he suddenly finds himself trapped in a disturbing vision. He's alone, adrift at sea, surrounded by the corpses of drowned migrants, slowly rising from the water. The haunting scene fades, but the supernatural torment continues. Ghosts violently assault him in the house. Each time he switches on a light, they vanish. Desperately, he tries to illuminate every corner of the house. The spirits scream that they can't breathe, and Nyagak's voice echoes, crying out that she can't swim. Once the entire house is lit, Bol sees the apparitions crawling within the walls. In a frenzy, he smashes new holes in the plaster, demanding they leave. Seeking a way out, Bol visits Mark to request new housing. Mark, skeptical due to the size of Bol's current home, is alarmed by Bol's injured hand and frantic demeanor. Mark agrees to investigate, and upon seeing the destruction in the house, Bol blames it on a vermin infestation. Mark, sympathetic but firm, offers only a warning, provided the situation is resolved quickly. At that moment, Rial enters the room, wearing the traditional Sudanese clothing and the necklace Bol had previously destroyed. She openly tells Mark that the house is haunted by ghosts and a witch. Concerned, Mark informs them he will report this to his superiors, implying possible deportation. After Mark leaves, tensions boil over between Bol and Rial as they argue over where they truly belong. Refusing to surrender the life he's fought for, Bol takes drastic measures. He disables all the doors and windows, making it impossible to leave. Lighting a single candle, he invites the spirits to speak with him. One ghost, an ominous figure calling itself the Butcher, emerges. The witch offers Bol a grim deal. Nyagak will be returned to Rial if Bol sacrifices himself to settle his spiritual debt. Bol refuses and quickly realizes the entity lacks the power to harm him physically, but instead inflicts emotional torture through horrifying visions of Nyagak's death at sea. Meanwhile, Rial reattaches a window handle and escapes from the house. She finds herself transported into a surreal vision of being back in South Sudan, warmly welcomed by loved ones. The brief joy turns chilling as the witch appears once more, forcing her to confront the painful and repressed truth about their past. We learn that Rial and Bol survived a brutal attack by one of the warring factions in South Sudan, which left most of their loved ones dead. Amid the chaos, they attempt to flee with a group of other refugees. However, when they reach a bus evacuating civilians, they are denied boarding since priority is being given to families with children, and Rial and Bol have none. In a desperate moment, Bol spots a young girl, Nyagak, in the crowd and impulsively claims she is their daughter. The ruse works, and they are allowed on the bus just before it departs. As the bus pulls away, Nyagak's real mother chases after it, screaming for her child but is left behind. Rial solemnly promises to protect their new daughter. The three are later placed on a boat headed to the UK, but disaster strikes when the vessel capsizes. Most passengers, including Nyagak, drown in the chaos. Bol, one of the few who can swim, manages to save Rial and bring her to a rescue boat. The ghosts haunting them represent the souls of those who perished, Nyagak included, so that Bol and Rial could survive. The witch tells Rial that if she delivers Bol to him, he will reunite her with Nyagak, Rial returns to the apartment where Bol is waiting. She reaches for the kitchen knife, conflicted, but ultimately cannot bring herself to harm him. Bol, however, takes the knife and wounds himself, fully prepared to offer his life as penance for his past actions in hopes of bringing Nyagak back. He confesses everything, acknowledging his guilt. As Rial steps away, the floor splits open and the witch emerges, beginning to consume Bol. In this moment of horror, Nyagak appears and gently takes Rial's hand. As Rial listens to Bol in agony, she comes to a powerful realization. Her true home is with him. She speaks to the spirits of her lost loved ones, including Nyagak, and tells them she must now go home. Determined, she seizes the knife and kills the witch, saving Bol's life. Time passes. Mark and his superiors return for a follow-up inspection. They find the house repaired, with the holes in the walls patched and the space clean and modestly furnished. Though still somewhat skeptical, the inspectors seem satisfied and are likely to let Bol and Rial remain in the home. In a quiet moment, Mark privately asks Rial what really happened. She replies simply, "She killed the witch." As for the ghosts, she explains, they are still present, and always will be, because they are a part of who she and Bol are. Yet, despite the weight of the past, the couple chooses to move forward, carrying their memories with them. The film closes with Bol and Rial sitting peacefully, surrounded by the silent echoes of their history.